Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Sunday, January the 12th, 2025. So, of course, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions. We'll try to answer the questions the best of our ability. So before we talk about what's on tap for tonight, um, I'm going to hand it off to my co-host here for a moment. Metal, if you'd like to introduce yourself, maybe promote any projects you're doing, share any links. I think you know the shtick, right?
Do I? Do I really? Let's see if I have a link. Boom. Here's the thing I make called X Item is Chaos. It's got its own website. You can go check it out there.
All right. So here's a link for you guys if you guys want to go check that out.
Got a lot of stuff, comics, web novels, cool things. You could spend hours there.
All right.
That's it.
All right. So with that, so anything more you want to add to that, or well, I know
No.
you also have a YouTube show, right? A couple of
What
YouTube
do I
shows,
know?
huh?
I said, do I know?
Yes, you do. The Vomitorium. You have Super Sentai Showdown on Mondays,
It's Super
and
Serial Showtime.
Super Serial Showtime. Thank you for the correction. And you have Game Central Junction on Thursdays, correct?
Yes, I do.
And there's a link to his channel if you guys want to check that out.
And
So,
once in a blue moon, I might do something else on that channel. That's unscheduled. It's if I feel up to it.
like some video game streams and all that, right?
Yeah, we had a pretty long New Year stream too.
Yeah, yeah. I just subscribed just within the past week to another person who does a lot of video game streaming, Hikaru Shida, who's known more as for time in AEW as a professional wrestler, anything else, but she's also done a few other things too, like cosplay and all that. Um, so with that, then, now, let's talk about what's on tap for tonight. Now that we're up past the 3 minute mark here. So tonight, of course, we're continuing our look through comics that went on sale in April of 1940. This week we're focusing on books that went on sale from the company that would eventually become Holyoke Publishing. Initially started off as Tennyson and Henlift publications. Um, so tonight we're going to be looking over the three features. We're going to be looking over our Strongman from Crash Comic Adventures Volume 1, Issue 2, and then Holyoke's version of Cyclone, and Smash Dawson from Whirlwind Comics Volume 1, Issue 1. Did you want to try to read along, do character voices tonight, or did you want to just sit back and do commentary?
It is actually dinner time, and I've got a plate of food in front of me, so I think I'll just stick to commentary.
Okay, all right, fine. All right. That being said, of course, why don't we go ahead and get into the content? And as I said, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So you ready there, Metal?
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right. So, featuring Strongman, the Perfect Human, Crash Comic Adventures, Shangra the Magician, Buck Burke, Blue Streak, 10 cents. All right. Strong man, the perfect human. He has the strength of 100 elephants, the speed of a racing car. He fights ever on the side of righteous. Don't you just like how they said that? He fights ever on the side of righteousness. Quite a way of saying that, huh? Metal?
Yeah, I mean that's just how people talked. Yeah, that technically is proper grammar.
Yeah. So you would betray the great Sanchez. You would tell Americans of his plan. I'm a patriot of El Matador, my country. Sanchez is a tool of foreign dictators. For that you die. Help! Strongman is passing by. What can that be? Sounds like someone is in distress. The street looks like a good one for some action. Help! Help! It came from behind this brick wall. Pardon my intrusion. Shock! You you keep out of this. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Got him. Caramba, he is unhurt. So you want to play rough? Strongman unbinds the captive. Who are you and what's the trouble? I am Don Amigo, the real president of El Matador in Central America. Well, that's that. Pretty straightforward thus far, huh? There.
Yeah. Just a thing happened, another thing happened, and now he's got the actual president. You know, it's pretty easy to follow.
Well, if things go like this should be a real quick read for 19 pages. That's how long this story is said to be, from when I looked. My country is oppressed by dictator Sanchez. He has seized control with help of an aggressor nation and plots against the Panama Canal. Yeah, enemy nation. You know that's what they called a lot of like the Axis and the enemy nations back then. Aggressor nations. That was a common term for that. The Panama Canal. That's serious. We leave for Panama tomorrow. But how? Report at Percy Van Norton's yacht at Swellport. You will be the ship's cook. Okay, that's an interesting twist for you. So to try to get him back to his country or what have you, he's gonna pose. This president of a foreign country is going to pose as a cook.
I hope he's any good.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I wonder if you would find like maybe Trump or Obama trying that.
Well, Trump did pose as a McDonald's employee, so I could see it happening.
Yeah, I guess in a way you could say that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. He did do that. To the everyday world, strongman is Percy Van Norton, rich man's son to high society. He seems a perfect playboy. No one knows of the terrific power he has developed from secret yogi exercises. You know, how they talk about his wealth there, right? How he's a rich man's son and all that. Reminds me of a story I covered the other day, from Bleeding Fool, where they were talking about how I guess there are some comic book professionals who were kind of decrying the fact that that Bruce Wayne is rich. Of course, that's probably nothing new, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. Totally
Well,
got that
ladies, go ahead.
image to it,
Sorry.
you know.
What was that?
So just totally got that image to it, like his whole background and everything.
Hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, how about a week's cruise in my yacht starting right now? Oh, Percy, you have the grandest ideas. The next day at the Swellport Yacht Club, the guests troop aboard the yacht. Well, what do you. Obviously, they're using it slightly different from what most people think of here. What do you think the term troop is implied here, Metal?
Well, a troop definitionally is basically like a party or a group of people that are on the move. So
Mhm.
if the guests are trooping aboard, then they're going across a board together as a group.
Right. Well, that's what I figure too. But usually, when most people hear the word troop, it's usually applied in um,
Or
military.
like scouts as well, similarly,
Yeah,
because a lot of
scouts.
their
Yeah,
ranking comes from that. But it's for the same purpose, right? Because a troop is
right.
what's it called? Mobile infantry
Well,
usually.
I
It's the
do know
people
that.
on the move.
The reason I brought it up though is because this is one of the few times that I think I've ever actually seen the term troop used in more of a civilian setting or more of a non-scout, non-military setting. If you get what I mean.
Oh yeah, what about Goof Troop?
Well, that was a title, but I guess you have a point there. You know, report to the Goof Troop, as we always stick together. Anyways, where where are we going? To a place called El Matador. Percy says there's gambling there. Captain, here is Don Amigo. He will be our ship's cook. The, very well, Mr. Van Norton. The yacht leaves Swellport Harbor. Swellport. That's got to be an interesting name, huh?
Yeah.
3 days later, it arrives in El Matador. What a quaint place. Are you going ashore, Percy? No, you go. I'll stay here. Pulling an oar in the shore boat is Don Amigo. Let's see. Why doesn't why doesn't Percy come ashore? Oh, he's too lazy to do anything. I am trying to vary the women's voices a little bit. Yeah, the best I can do with having a baritone for a voice. But anyways, the oppressed people recognize Don Amigo. Here's Don Amigo, our true president. Viva Don Amigo! Viva Don Amigo! Down with Sanchez!
Wow, they recognized him from a far way off.
What's going on? It looks like a revolution. Toro Castle, the dictator's stronghold. So now, Metal, I'm sure you're gonna get the reference I'm about to use here because of some of the terms that were used to describe the
Don't think so highly of me.
But you know the story is looking to have a lot of bull in it.
Maybe.
You get the reference? Countries called El Matador,
Yeah.
a castle called Toro.
Toro.
So you can argue that the story's gonna have a lot of bull in it.
Yeah, you ever I think we've probably talked about this before, but like the planets of these comics have to be slightly bigger than the actual Earth, or they're just taking over some of the sea that doesn't have land on because they always have countries that don't exist in the real world.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. And I know we may have alluded to that before. I've actually, when I was doing this on my own with just focusing just on DC and the comics that it absorbed into the
Yeah, yeah.
story, right? I actually read once that actually was the case, that somebody had actually postulated that same theory, that some of
Yeah.
these comic universes are actually maybe a little bit bigger than ours because of all these new places. Of course, and with that too, as you and I talked about, I think the last time you were here, right? The science, the physics and the science of these universes is a little askew too compared to ours.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's just like,
Right?
especially with DC specifically, right? Where at first there are different cities were like stand-ins for real world cities, but then like the real world city gets brought in too. So she's like, wait, there's a metropolis, Gotham, and a New York and Chicago, right? There's a
I
capital
think I
city
showed you
and
that
there's
one site
DC.
I have, that one site I found called the Atlas of the DCU, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
You
looked
know,
over it, and it's just crazy that it's like it almost evolved out of necessity. They were
yeah,
the worlds weren't intended to be bigger. They were just kind of renaming some other places and making them fictionalized. But then they brought in like the real world cities exist too. So it's like, well, we can't have this city and New York, can we? It's like, yeah, we can because we just made the world bigger.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you had Metropolis, on that site that I showed you, they have like Metropolis in Delaware, Gotham is in New Jersey, so is Bloodhaven. Calvin City's in Connecticut, right? I think Ivy City's in Rhode Island. You have Central City in Kansas. So um, Smallville's in
Central
Kansas.
City being there actually makes sense because at one point in time, divided by state lines, Kansas City was actually a very important city in the middle of the U.S.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyways, as we continue on with the story here, let's see. Inside the castle, Sanchez is worried. Viva Don Amigo! The people are revolted. Oh, look at the guy! Look at Sanchez right there. Doesn't he remind you of somebody? Metal? Hmm. I guess Metal must have stepped away or something. The guy
Sorry,
right there. Oh,
I actually walked away for a second. I had to
uh,
grab more mashed potatoes.
the guy right there. Look at him. The Sanchez, the guy in the light blue suit right there. Does he remind you of anybody?
Yeah, just about every Hispanic man I've ever known.
Hmm. Actually, quite honestly, because of he actually reminds me of Stalin.
Um, I mean, yeah, if you're looking for it, I could see it. I guess I've just known way too many like Hispanic people that look exactly like that. Like where they grow their mustache out and everything. It's like, yeah, that's just normal.
Yeah, well, because I've seen pictures of Stalin before, and that's what I picked up on. To me, he looks like Stalin, Joseph Stalin. All right, but I can also see your point because I've seen a lot of Hispanics that look like that too, particularly those who are a little bit older. You know, um, anyways,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had a neighbor like three houses down growing up who looked exactly like that.
uh, the people are revolting. Don't worry, we'll use a new gas. Foreign soldiers gas the crowd. Down with Sanchez! Bang! Bang! The gas overwhelms the people. It's poison gas! I'm Don Amigo and the others are captured. You're under arrest! Oh, oh, this is terrible. Meanwhile, on the yacht, bang! Bang! Shots. Here's where I go into action. Yeah, pretty straightforward story.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I was laughing to myself when you said the people are revolting. Maybe it was Robin Hood Men in Tights. It was one of those parody comedy movies, but there's like a line in it where he's like, "My lord, the people are revolting," and he looks out the window. He's like, "You're right, and they're attacking too."
Yeah. Percy sheds his yacht clothes and appears as Strongman. Well, the water won't be so cold. He strikes out for the shore. Uh-oh, shark! A big one that didn't get away. You can't go in. Don't be so positive. Then take that. What? This. Now you take that. Strongman seizes an ancient cannon. Just what I need. Like he's got a cannon by the muzzle right there.
See, I would have went a completely different direction. Instead of telling him not to be so positive, I would have been like, "Don't be so negative. You'd be surprised what you can do when you set your mind to it."
Mhm. And smashes a steel door. Get him, man! Strongman grabs up a cannonball. This is handy. And bowls with it. Alley oop! Alley oop! A cannonball, okay. Uh, I'll take some of these along.
Yeah, I mean, it's just normal stuff, right? Like you've played dodgeball with medicine balls before. If you had the strength, why wouldn't you just alley oop a cannonball?
Hmm. Meanwhile, in the castle, let's see. Generalissimo, we have captured Don Amigo. These people were with him. Have them shot at once. You can't do that. We're Americans. Americans, bah! A few minutes later, ready, aim. In the nick of time, just a moment, please. A perfect strike. Look at that. Bowling for guards with cannonballs. The new game show sensation. Hey there,
Yeah, but the thing is, it took him way too much time, right? If he had the time to say, just a moment, please, they had time to fire their guns.
oh, maybe.
He should have struck first, quip later. That's the thing, right? Get your strike, then you can say something funny about it.
Yeah, well, writers probably weren't thinking that at the time, though. Hmm. Now you're free. Now, you free the others. I'll open a way to escape. Strong man crumbles the wall with cannonballs. Meanwhile, Sanchez flees in a catapult plane. A catapult plane. That's an interesting device. When you say
That's
there,
actually a real thing. That's a real thing that existed.
hmm,
So, especially earlier on in aviation, you needed long runways, and it took a while to take off. Like it still kind of does, but we can accelerate planes faster than we used to be able to. So if you
or
wanted to
the
like
head,
basically have an emergency getaway, or you wanted to be able to launch something off of a ship or whatever, which we do still catapult planes off of ships on aircraft carriers, you would have some type of launch system where you would fling the ship or fling the plane fast so it gets its acceleration before it really needs to.
hmm, yeah. In a series of giant leaps, Strongman follows the plane. He's making for the mountain. He's making for the mountains. I must follow.
Well, good thing for him, he can keep up with a plane.
well, he's Strongman after all.
Yeah, but the strongman could imply anything like from what we've seen before, hurling cannonballs or slamming through steel with larger objects. It could be anywhere between 3 times stronger than a normal person to like 100 times stronger. That's a huge window.
Or having enough strong muscle mass in the legs to generate incredible speed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would require that. I'm just saying, like, again, it could be anywhere between 3 times stronger in the legs to like 100 times. It's a long window just from the name alone. I gotta see some things to know just how strongman is.
Yeah. Strongman comes to a rope bridge uh, spanning a gorge. At that moment, on the other side, he must not cross. We'll cut the rope. One end of the bridge falls into the yawning chasm. Yawning chasm. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know a chasm could yawn.
It's actually a very, very common term to refer to certain types of chasms. Yawning kind of just refers to it being very open and wide, like your mouth when you yawn.
Oh, okay. So that's where they get the term from for it. Hmm. He catches hold of the end of the rope. He climbs back up to the top. That was a close call. Then he takes a running start. I don't need a bridge. There must
Honestly,
be.
judging by the jumps he just made there
Uh-huh.
with those dotted lines, I don't honestly think him falling into the chasm would have been a problem.
Yeah.
He just
Or
maybe lost
or
some
man, if he
time.
would have got, if he would have tried to bounce off the bottom, that would have been quite a leap. He'd been able to do that. Hmm.
Yeah, also like some of the other things that he's already done, right? If you
Mhm.
apply like Newton's third law, it's like to be
Uh-huh.
able to do what he did with that like steel pillar that he was holding earlier. The amount of force that was in there should have been enough to just destroy his body. If he could withstand that, he probably would have been fine falling into that like that crevasse.
Hmm. All right. There must be some reason for trying to keep me from here. Why there's a modern fortification over there. The fortification. Inside the fortification, it's all over. There's a revolution. I must get away with the gold you promised me. You cowardly fool! There is yet time to fire my big Bertha at the Panama Canal. Look out there. Is it not a beauty? The big Bertha.
It is in fact a beauty.
uh,
I wonder what size artillery shells that fires.
you what?
I wonder what size artillery shells that fires. Like how
Probably
many
pretty
inches
big
across?
artillery shells. Probably big enough that we should be very wary of them.
Let's see. Oh, actually, that's the name of an actual howitzer. Okay. So 17-inch caliber is what a big Bertha would fire.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
17
I take
inches
it that's a
across.
pretty big. That's a pretty big shell.
Yes, 17 inches is roughly the size of your forearm from your elbow to your fingertip. A little shy, 18 inches is the actual length. That's a cubic.
So something like this.
Yeah, that across. That would be the diameter, yeah. That's pretty big.
Yeah, that is pretty big. Now I've seen some cartoons where you may have some cyborgs or robots shooting their arms off like that. I mean, uh, let's see. Just one shot, Sanchez, from that gun, and it'll shatter a lock of the Panama Canal, 75 miles away. Do you think we have spent $1 million on for nothing? Tank traps. Don't stop me. Hey, he's hopping over the barbed wire there.
Yeah, yeah, like something that would stop the rotary system of a tank isn't going to stop somebody who could just jump over all of it.
Mhm. Nor barbed wire either. A platoon of soldiers charges at strongmen. Charge! At the base of the Big Bertha is loaded. At the base of the Big Bertha, the Big Bertha is loaded, sir. Good. I'll fire it myself. The general pushes the firing button. Goodbye, Panama Canal. I do it for my country.
That's a pretty obvious typo.
Huh?
This is an obvious typo. Goodbye has an E at the end.
Ah, Actually, I've seen that before. I've seen that before, though. People do at times get lazy with that. I've seen that's actually a common spelling. I think for the time period, they a lot of times they do drop the e. In that I've seen that before.
Oh, well, I'm just losing respect for the time period then.
Hmm.
Like, if you're just going to be lazy, do we got to go back to the old way of saying it? Do we actually have to say God be with ye every single time instead of goodbye?
Hmm. Uh. But strong man leaps for the barrel of the gun. He strikes the gun barrel, joggling its aim. The big Bertha goes off. Bang! The huge shell screams toward through the air. But he whiz. Does that look like 17 inches to you? Or does it maybe look
Well,
like
if we scroll back up, right, and we compare the opening when he's joggling it, we compare the actual chamber, the panel underneath this one. Um, and we can see the opening here to the chamber, and we compare it to the size of Strongman's arm, and I'm going to guess that he's probably bigger than the average person looking at him with the other people standing next to him. I'm going to guess he's probably like 6'4" to 6'6", right?
mm-hmm.
And his arm is bigger. I can estimate that barrel, that chamber, could hold a 17-inch shell.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's probably about the right size.
Hmm. It strikes 75 miles away, but misses the Panama Canal. Strongman has saved the lock. Back at the gun emplacement. Hmm. This is the ammunition dump. Strongman hurls the shells right and left. Two can play at that game. Two can play at this shelling game. The Big Bertha is blown to pieces. Boom! Sanchez and the general flee on mules. Yeah, they're gonna be caught soon. Mules, not known for their speed.
I mean, mules aren't slow, but yeah, they're not like a racehorse or something.
Hmm.
I mean, the guy who was able to keep up with a plane, even if you had a racehorse, I think they'd be caught pretty fast.
Good point. Meanwhile, back in El Matador, Viva Don Amigo! Viva our president! His work done, Strongman hurries back to the yacht. I must get back to my yacht so they won't know that I left. Good, I'm just in time. Why, Percy, you missed everything. We were almost shot. It was terrible. You weren't much help to us, Percy. Or was he? I guess I wasn't. At that. Follow the adventures of Strongman in each issue of Crash Comics. Alrighty then, so.
And it's one of those earlier incidences of something that would become a almost like a trope later on, right? You see that with
Mhm.
Superman. You see that with a bunch of people with secret identities, where it's just like, man, what were you doing this whole time, you useless person? hiding in the closet.
Yeah. Obviously, I guess you're already answering the question I was going to ask, right? Overall impressions?
I think it was all right. If I actually, especially because it was straightforward, it was very straightforward. It didn't play around. I made a couple joking criticisms, but I think for this era, it was
Mm-hmm.
strong. I'd give this to a kid. I don't think it would confuse them. I don't think it wasted too much of its page count for what was this, like 9 pages?
19.
19. Oh, okay. It felt like it flew by fast, actually. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think it was pretty good.
Well, if you notice too, I that's what I commented on at the beginning too, that this is going to, this felt like it was going to probably be a fast read for 19 pages because
Yeah.
it was straightforward. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones like you could give somebody 20 pages, which is about the average manga chapter, right? So this is about the length of the average manga chapter, right?
Mhm.
And man, you think like they're trying to use the page as much as possible by overloading it with stuff, but it's so distracting from the story that you end up like wasting your page count.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, this is fine. I think it used its page count just well.
All right, so I'll just gonna stop the share screen for a moment while I'm focusing in on trying to get to the other book because the other book will be doing two stories in that Whirlwind Comics from Holyoke. Oh, number one.
And I am going to get rid of my plate, so I'll probably be back by the time you have everything up.
All right. I hope everybody's enjoying the show thus far. If you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So, with all that being said, let me just grab the thing here. Oh yeah, actually. All right, so as we wait for
I have returned.
all right. We're just about to say as we wait for you to return, but then you returned. So here we go. Whirlwind Continent. Now this one, of course, we're gonna read two stories from this one: Cyclone and Smash Dawson. So 30 pages in total between the two stories. Uh,
Well, Cyclone is a very fitting comic name for something in a feature called Whirlwind.
yeah. Well, Cyclone's the feature, Whirlwind's the book. So June number one, Whirlwind Comics. 9 all new action comics featuring the Cyclone. And this is, of course, this is Holyoke's version of Cyclone. This is not to be confused with other versions of Cyclone, like, of course, DC Cyclone. Just so.
I don't even know if I'm familiar with DC Cyclones for it to matter.
Well, I think I think she's a more of a more recent hero. She's like said to be the granddaughter of um, the Ma Hunkel, the the first red tornado, the golden age red tornado.
Okay, well, I know the Red Tornado, so that kind of makes sense.
Well, there were two of them. There was the golden age one who was Ma Hunkel, and then there was the robot one from Doctor.
Yes, I'm talking about the one that's not a robot.
Yeah, I am too. That's the point. So
Though I am also familiar with the robot.
yeah, the cyclone. The cyclone is a tornado in human form who strikes at crime with the speed and force of a hurricane. He moves with the swiftness of the wind, always on the side of law and order. he poisons himself and with cyclone speed strikes.
Oh, cyclonic speed.
Cyclonic speed.
Yeah.
Thank you for picking that up. I didn't even
Yeah, yeah.
catch it.
No, you see, this hurricane doesn't actually have a lot of force because it's spread across such a wide area. I mean, I guess if you were to harness all of that into one spot, then it would be very forceful. Um, but they're just, it's almost the opposite is the problem with a hurricane is that they're not very fast or forceful and they just linger in spots for like hours upon hours, even up to like a day at a time, and they destroy everything because they won't move on.
Yeah. Peter Blake takes many jujitsu lessons. The honorable gentleman learns fast. Circus acrobats teach him all they know. A little less tension in your left arm. Oh, we got another. It looks like we got another Batman here.
Yeah, well, I mean, so far it looks like a really good skill set to have. You know, jujitsu, acrobatics.
Mm-hmm. He learns much from athletes. You win. Say you're good. And thus Peter Blake becomes. They call me the Cyclone. I fight crime whenever and wherever I find it.
Yeah, so are they implying that in a Batman-like way, he's just like a normal guy that's just really good at what he does, or does he actually have powers?
Hmm. It is a quiet day in the Ninth National Bank. But suddenly the bank is invaded. Reach for the sky. Hey, hand over the cash. Make it snappy. Outside on the street, help the blind. Buy my shoelaces. But is he so blind? There's something wrong with in the bank. He taps his way into an alley. He rips off his outer garments. Enough of these rags. Like a human fly, he climbs a building. Now for some action.
Okay, wait. I've got a lot of questions here.
Okay.
Question number one: did he know that this bank robbery was already happening? Because if he didn't, question number two: I see the benefits of pretending to be like an old blind man. Nobody was to suspect you. But does he just like wander around pretending to be an old blind man all day until something like this happens? Because you can't get across the city pretty fast that way. Like, what if you just don't notice anything? What if you're on the wrong side of the city because you're lunking around pretending to be an old blind man?
Hmm. Well, I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what their line of thinking was on it, but you know,
Like I
I
get the
have
initial thought. It's
that as
like,
a
oh
plot
yes,
point before, where sometimes heroes will sometimes use the old blind man gimmick as a way to do undercover work.
yeah, like I get it. It makes sense that part, but it's like, yeah, if you needed to get close to the bank so that the robbers would ignore you, but that means you had to already know that there was something going on before you decided to show up dressed like an old blind man.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't, that means you waste a lot of your time wandering around the city pretending to be an old blind man.
Well, as we've seen in other stories in the past, a lot of times they will jump right into these situations, right? We've talked about this before with these writers from this time period. You know, there are times you were even saying that a lot of times they just get in and get out just so they can get the books out, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's just like, I just want to know the logic here, you know? It's a big leap. Like, why is he just wandering around dressed as an old blind guy? He's
Yeah.
not Daredevil.
Well, I mean, unless we all of a sudden become super geniuses and are able to build a time machine to travel back in time to talk to the guys who wrote the story in the first place,
Oh
because the
yeah, the
guy
guy
who
who
wrote
wrote this has probably passed away.
long passed away. Yeah, they probably more than likely passed away sometime in the 60s or 70s. You know, you know, if that, maybe even.
Yeah, if they were lucky, they made it. They were like 100 and made it to 90, but that's they probably didn't make it to the 90s. They probably did pass away in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah. So, anyways, um, getting back to any more questions?
No, that was my main one. I just want to know like what benefit does this guy have wandering around pretending to be an old blind guy if he doesn't already know the general location where this problem should be happening?
Well, maybe we'll find out soon enough here for all we
I
know.
hope my question gets answered.
Yeah. He reaches for the roof. The bank is next door. He leaps across the gap. This ought to bring me a little closer. Wow, look at how he's getting across those roofs there.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like leaping across, and there's almost like a cyclone, a spiral going around his jump,
Yeah, no kidding.
like he's winding up and springing forth.
Right. Kind of like maybe kind of like the Masters of the Universe character Cyclone,
Yeah,
albeit
yeah.
his name is spelled a little differently. But
Well, the problem is when you have these like whirlwind lines around him, from a reader's perspective, it makes you think that he is actually spiraling, right? And it's like very, very confusing
or
how
or
these
or,
stunts
may,
would get
or
pulled
maybe
off.
he's like pulling a samurai, right? You know what I'm referring
Maybe.
to? Like Samurai from the Super Friends.
Yeah, I know Sam Ray from Super Friends, but it's been so long since I watched the Super Friends. I'm trying to picture it.
Well, if you remember, so Super Friends, in the '70s, there they kind of did their own diversity thing where they
Yeah,
added
yeah, I know.
Samurai was a Japanese character.
Yeah, and
He
they
was
had
the
like
one who'd
Apache
go
Chief and all that.
Kazi ni yo ni hayaku, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden he'd have like a tornado like 4 legs.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. My problem with this though is they didn't establish that this guy has powers or anything, right? Because all of his training looked like normal human training.
Yeah.
Which I asked earlier. It's like, is this just like another Batman, or does he have powers? This is why I'm confused here. It's like in this weird, ambiguous area. I'm like, is that actually wind? Is that just for artistic effect? Is he spiraling around? I don't know what's going on in this panel.
I'm sure, as we've talked about before, it's probably just another case of these writers just throwing stuff on the wall,
Yeah.
against the wall and seeing what sticks, right? Right, just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks, see if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that before with the writers from this time period. Then crashes through a skylight down into the bank. He lands with the grace of a bird. Gosh, what a guy! Jeepers creepers! Shoot that freak! Maybe this'll stop him. The cyclone ducks. You missed, pal. Mustn't shoot at people. Bam! Jiu-jitsu comes in handy. What happened? You just got thrown, dude. And crash! On the other side of the bank. I'll get him from over here. The cyclone springs for the chandelier. The cyclone swings and lets go. I'm coming, ready or not.
I also like how the level of art that people were able to get away with back then. Because if I drew a chandelier like that, nobody would ever let me live it down.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
And I don't think that's a problem either.
it probably
I like
wasn't as
simplistic art.
refined as it is today, though. You know.
Yeah, like I
So,
said, I actually don't think this is an issue. I like very simplistic art. I think a lot of this stuff actually looks pretty fine. The only thing you were really limited on back then was color, right? Like you could have inked whatever you wanted to. But due to the speed they had to get things out and all other natures, you were taking a lot of shortcuts in your inks.
hmm.
I'm just saying, like other people wouldn't let me get away with drawing a chandelier like that, and I think that's a crime.
uh, all right. So as we continue on here, ugh, had enough. Smack. I'll get that guy. He's off guard. I'll stab him. But the cyclone thrusts out a quick foot. That's usually what happens when you go charging at people. And smashes the crook back against the wall. The cyclone somersaults to his feet. On there, it looks like they're using U instead of O for somersault.
Yeah. I wonder if that is an accepted way to spell it. Like I've only ever seen it with an O.
Mm-hmm. Well, who's next? We better scram quick. He's too good. At that moment, the police arrive and round up the fleeing crooks. This is a cyclone's work, for sure. I'd like to see that cyclone.
Okay, I have seen that some dictionaries in some places have spelt it with a U.
Hmm.
But usually in the case when you spell it with a U, you use two M's, like you're spelling the word summer.
Right.
So this guy here is in like a little weird middle ground between the two.
Right. Oh, did you just look it up?
Yeah, yeah. Because it is based on like obviously the other spelling. Somar is the more Germanic way of saying summer. So both if you were to spell summer either way, that's fine. But if you do spell it that other way, then it would have two M's.
Right. All right. As we continue on, of course. And again, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people here to engage. It'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. As we continue on now with the comic here. But the cyclone is away like the wind. I saved you from the cops. Now, who's the head of the gang? It's it's Scott. It's Scott Galenti. Yeah, Galenti. Ouch! His hideout is an old opera house, but you'll never get him. Scar is smart.
Hello, Rick.
Rick's here, huh? Hey, Rick. Thanks for dropping in, my friend. Yeah, he got me the background there just this morning. Of course, I was a little delayed in asking him for it too. So, um, the old opera house, long abandoned. I'll go through the window. The cyclone arrives. The door is probably barred. Oh, okay. Oopsie. Well,
I'm not going to blame you for that. I'm going to blame this page's awkward layout for that reading order.
yeah. I think
This I don't think most pages need arrows. I think most are readable. This is a page that would have benefited a lot from arrows.
inside the opera house. Crash! Well, I got a box at the opera. Yeah, box off a seat.
Yeah, if I can compliment anything, as hard it is to follow what this guy's abilities or purpose is, at least he's got a sense of humor.
Hmm. Putting a bit of a positive spin on the whole thing, huh?
Well, I mean, if there's something positive to say.
Hmm. In an old dressing room sits Scargalante. Say, Scar, a guy just broke in. Well, shoot him. The thugs shoot from the stage. He's up in that box. Fill him full of lead. Bang! Bang! A cyclone leaps for a curtain rope. He catches the rope and swings. Shoot me if you can. Yeah, that's something. Daring people to shoot him. How do you like
No,
this?
it's not a
Uh,
very bright thing to do.
yes, but as we know, there are times that comic book writers back here did not always show that they were the brightest of intellects, right?
Well, I think also it's a constant undervaluing the actual effect of firearms
Hmm.
in comics and literature in general, right? Like if you were like strongman, I could see you not caring because a bullet would probably just bounce right off of him, right?
Mhm.
The previous person, but this guy, I'm pretty sure if you could get a bullet into him, it'd probably actually take him out,
Yeah.
or at least hinder him, depending on where you hit him with the bullet.
Right. And we continue on. We're just past the hour mark here. Right into the gangster he swings. Bang! Ouch! Ouch! Crash! I'm rough on rats. Yeah, dude is a bit of a punter, is he? Shock! Ugh! Swish!
I don't know if he's much of a punter, but he definitely gets a chuckle out of himself. Like he's saying things, I'm finding them a little funny, but there's like no real wit to what he's saying. He's probably saying it because it makes him laugh. That's what he strikes me as the type of guy. It's like he's laughing through all this stuff.
Yeah. He's murdering us.
I
Near
actually
the
think these guys would probably have pretty thick Jersey accents the way they're writing their words.
near the sea. Well, I'm trying my best to capture the accents as best as I can. You know that. Near the ceiling hang the sandbags, once used to counterweight the curtain. A thug cuts the rope. Smash! Ooh, that's not nice.
Actually, like that. I like that circular panel with the knife and the hand.
Uh,
It shows that like when they do take the time to draw something that is not overly detailed, but it's artistically detailed. It shows you that these artists can draw fairly nice images.
mhm,
They just don't have the time to draw it in every single panel.
right. He's out cold. There ain't a guy born that can get Scargalenti. We'll throw him off the roof. Make it look like suicide. Up on the roof. One, two, and away he goes. The cyclone is thrown off the high roof. But the cool air revives him. He he catches a pole. Wow, that's pretty miraculous, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I guess that is in his talent set, right? Acrobatics.
Yeah,
If anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be somebody like him.
yeah. And whirls around it. And that was a common scene in comics and cartoons too. A lot. I remember I remember particularly in the Spider-Man cartoon from 1967, the Grant White Lawrence Spider-Man cartoon, where you'd
Mhm.
see him like do that. Where you see Spider-Man do that. Just you know, he would like swing up and over the pole like that, and then then eventually bring his feet down to to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about. um,
Yeah, it's standard gymnastics, right? Which is a very very big influence on a lot of these type of characters because
mhm,
as we know, the biggest influence on superhero comics specifically was the American Circus, which has a combination of the strongman and different sideshows. It also has acrobatics in it, and also wrestling shows like the kind you enjoy first pop up in the American Circus before they split off to their own thing.
right.
And all of that culture influences what we know as like the modern day superhero with the tights and everything.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing too is back then too, they'd also had the idea of human versus like bears, wrestling
Yeah.
too. So back back towards the rooftop, back toward. Thought I was dead, huh? Why, that's impossible. Whack! Where are you taking me? You'll see in police headquarters. Looks like a dull day. Yup, there's nothing doing. But suddenly, what the? Gosh, it's Gargalante! Crash! Galenti, you're wanted for arson and murder. Who tossed you in here? He is a cyclone. Blast him. Click. That's one gang broken up, but there's lots more to do. Follow the adventures of the Cyclone in each issue of Whirlwind Comics. All right, Metal, we're done with 2/3 of the stories we're covering tonight.
Mhm.
Overall impressions.
Um, I think general character direction aside, it was all right.
Hmm.
I think it's not as strong as the last one because of those weird complaints that I made artistically, but overall it was all right.
Hmm. Oh, like how they were paneling in that one on that one page.
It wasn't just that. It was like also like the idea of drawing these cyclones around him as he's doing things because that's his name. But like it's not clear whether there's like a power related to it or if it's just artistic expression because it's like, oh look, I've got the force of a cyclone or whatever, right? It's just like this weird ambiguous artistic direction.
Oh.
uh
Almost
I
like you have to wonder,
yeah.
like I had mentioned, if maybe even long before he was actually created, they were trying to pull a samurai.
Yeah,
You know,
or something like that, but it's just not clear one way or the other because even as he's doing things against these criminals, it feels like he's just like a Batman type character, right? He's just
Mhm.
a really athletic pulp hero doing stuff dressed as a type of Cape Crusader who doesn't really have any powers. It probably is just an artistic direction, and I think it leads to confusion.
Hmm. All right, so we'll get ready and move on to the last story we're going to do tonight, Smash Sauce, and this one is the shortest of the three that we'll do. Smash Dotson is will be like 10 pages, so that one we'll probably get through pretty quickly. But and you notice the different types of stories they'd have, like sci-fi, aviation, military,
Yeah. You used to get a decent spread of different genre. It was still all adventure comics,
uh-huh.
like that's the overall genre is adventure, but you used to get a good spread of these subgenres, including the ones that would split off into the superhero genre. But obviously, I mean, this comic's not around anymore. But the successful ones were mostly the superhero ones, and that's why they ended up dominating the industry later on. Even though back in the day, like I think Western and military comics used to be way more popular than superhero comics were for a good time.
Oh yeah, well yeah, in the golden age here, particularly you know, and particularly from let's say the 40s through the 60s. Well, okay, so early on here, aviation comics were pretty
Oh yeah,
popular.
yeah. Especially
You
because it
know,
was like aviation was still pretty new, comparably speaking. I mean, we've had planes for what 50 years before that or something was the first flight.
mm-hmm.
But as far as like commercial aviation and a bunch of the other things, like this is still in the heyday of it.
Yeah. And then from the 40s to the 60s, you did have like a lot of like the westerns, the military, and even romantic comics. In the 40s and 50s,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
those got pretty popular too. For a girl, more for the girls, right? You know, um, that's actually one of the things that helped to drive Archie comics.
Well, I was gonna say, I think some genre, because they weren't aiming necessarily at the young boy demographic, continued to succeed, right? Because like Archie has romance, but it also has comedy. There's like different types of Archie stories depending on what you want. But they were, heck, for a long time still even doing stronger than their top company competitors, right? I think when I was growing up, the top selling comic was Archie's Digest.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things about Archie too, Archie was probably seemed to be more directed, particularly towards, in some respects, towards teens, because obviously with the setting in high school and a lot of high school hijinks, you'd see a lot of like them going to the beach and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. But also Archie had the advantage of being in grocery stores, right? Like Archie's Digest was right there in the checkout aisle next to like TV Guide and crosswords.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get to this last story here. Smash Dawson and the Magic Mandarin. That weird Oriental individual who has assumed the pseudonym the Magic Mandarin has sworn vengeance against the white race, and Smash Dawson, crack foreign correspondent and criminologist of the New York Record. Dawson has been his persistent pursuer. The Mandarin, known as Li Ching, Oriental importer, with the assistance of a dynamic stone of magnetic power that he inherited from his ancestors. He plots disaster for the nation from his headquarters atop the Imperial State Building. The Magic Mandarin. The
This is a
Magic
really
Mandarin.
funny character.
Huh? What was
So
that?
this is a really funny character. The way like his description and everything. I mean, one, it was appropriate for the time because people were still using the word, but it's inappropriate to use the word Oriental to refer to people anymore. So that dates it, and that's cool. That's how the language was at the time. You can still use it for like a rug, but like you wouldn't call a person Oriental. Um, but the fact that it's the fact the character's racist to begin with, I love that. That's funny. It's like he just hates the white race. Doesn't explain really why he wants vengeance against the white race. He just hates it. So that's hilarious. I love that. I like a villain who's just like almost unapologetically just bad.
It's funny because in the last two times you've been on the show, right? The last time you became racist against Tiger Men from Mars,
Well, they have it coming. They're Tiger Men from Mars.
and now you're getting a kick out of them just bringing up. Oh, this character is totally racist.
You know what? Racist characters could be fun. Like especially because you immediately know they're not necessarily good people, right? I mean, if you're a heavy racist, there's a good chance that you're a pretty bad guy. It's not always 1-to-1, but I'm putting my odds in that favor. And if you just make like a character that unapologetically has some type of flaw with that, you could just go to town. You could play with them like they're a toy, right? You could just have them doing mean, nasty things to people, which can make your hero feel more triumphant when they stop somebody who's just doing mean, nasty things to people.
Yeah. With this description too, and some of the things that were said in it, he actually reminds me of another character, very similar. Did you pick up on that? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know if you're talking about one from that time period or not. I mean, I know
Not
of a different
necessarily one that
Mandarin.
came later. One that came later.
Yeah. I mean, I know of. Well, there's a few different Mandarins who've used the same title, but I know of like the Mandarin from Marvel, and I don't know if you're thinking of
That's the
someone
one I
else.
was thinking
Okay.
of. That's the one. because they were talking about how he's powered by a stone. Of course, the Mandarin has those rings of his,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it was just I that caught my attention real quick.
Oh, and they did the Mandarin so dirty in the live action Iron Man movies.
How so?
Well, they didn't use. I don't think they used the original Mandarin because there's been like 3 or 4 Mandarins in Marvel comics.
Mm-hmm.
But they just because they didn't want to be racist. I think they didn't want to do this, which would have been more fun if they did this. What's on the screen right there?
Mm-hmm.
They just completely changed like everything about the Mandarin and made him just lame.
Uh, all right.
I would have
So
loved a movie with like, even the Marvel Mandarin. He's kind of racist. He's like a Chinese superiority thing, which, let's be real, a lot of Chinese people have a Chinese superiority. I don't blame you, Chinese people. I have like an American superiority, so like we could be even on there. Mine's just not racial. Um, but like I would have loved just like this really aggressive Chinese villain who's like megalomaniacal, and he came up with this plot like 15 years ago and you're only dealing with it now.
hmm. Yeah. Well, let's get on with the story here. Um, oh, and look at this. They do actually have the arrows for us today for this one. At least early on here, it would seem.
Good, because if I were to try to read this, I probably would have read it top left, bottom left, and then right. So these arrows are very helpful.
Right. An office atop the Imperial State Building. I have come. I have come many weary miles from Thurston to be with our august and powerful master again. We are brothers of the Bloody Blade. Brothers of the Bloody Blade. Quite interesting there. They enter. Allegiance, brothers. Allegiance. We have come to serve you, master. Allegiance. Oh. The brothers of the Bloody Blade meet in a secret uh, session. Gentlemen, we meet tonight to fight the common enemy to our race. Tonight begins our reign of terror against the oppressor with this. They take the oath by slashing their wrist with Ching's sacred. Oh my God! Look at this. They're actually slicing their own wrist in comic here. Dang.
Yeah, and we all know if you are going to slash your wrist, you go down. Across is for emos.
Uh, so shall so shall flow the blood of the oppressor. Allegiance. Smash Dawson, newly arrived from war correspondence in the Far East, was has followed Ching, um, in parentheses, knowing him as the Magic Mandarin, parentheses, into the building on a trail that began in Manchuria. Ah, this is a place. Dawson, realizing he must be ready for action, sheds his coat and tie and smashes open the door, um, and aims the tear gas gun for immediate use. I finally caught up with you. Let's see you do a miracle now, my magic friend. Huh, huh, huh.
Well, if he is magic, a miracle seems to be something that'd be up his sleeve.
And look at this. Exactly. Smash fires the gun. In the Mandarin's pocket is is concealed a small piece of the precious stone of magnetic power that that keep that he keeps on his person for personal use. Suddenly, his business suit disappears, and let's see, and the Manchus. Oh wait, yeah, and the Manchus are standing in the robes of their ancestors. There is a miracle you asked for, foolish white man. Huh?
I mean, I don't know why they're not just wearing their own robes. It's kind of disgusting that you are wearing the robes of your ancestors. Did you take it off the bodies they were buried in, or?
Or maybe they pulled it out of time or something like that. The way they way the magic here. Could you imagine this possible scenario? You call for the robes to come from, let's say, I don't know, 500,000 years in the past, right off the back of your ancestor. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like even just like a couple hundred years ago, right? You're in like the 1700s in China, and you're just like standing there having a conversation with I don't know, maybe a lovely lady, and all of a sudden you're naked. You're like, where'd my robes go?
And then next thing you know, the woman screaming in bloody murder.
Yeah.
Ah!
And because of that, you ruined your whole ancestor's life. So eventually, he did reproduce because you got born, but that led to him being imprisoned, and it led a whole spiraling effect that led you to be this very upset, horrible person. Heck, it could have been under British colonial rule too, right? And they arrested your ancestor. Like, darn the British! I hate white people. And it was actually your own fault. Your whole family ended up hating white people in the first place.
Now that's an interesting twist, isn't it? Ah, right. So continuing on, then of course the Mandarin um, touches Dawson on the shoulder as he tries to turn to get away. He finds he cannot move easily, despite the fact that I have rendered you deaf and mute by the power of the Dragonstone. You shall still see the destruction of your fellow men. Brothers, we go to the tower. We shall take this white wretch as our guest. And like it even looks like facially they've changed, from before a little bit there. Looks like the facial structures changed a little bit.
Yeah, like this is probably what they were actually like the entire time, and everything else was just an illusion kicked on them so they could blend in better.
Hmm. The Mandarin lifts the paralyzed Dawson in his hands. Dawson um, Dawson, although paralyzed. So, kind of an interesting way of spelling. Although it looks like a little lazy writing there, or lazy lettering there. Although paralyzed, still has power of observation. He has been taken to the building penthouse. That elevator shaft, that elevator shaft shall serve a purpose. White dog. The Mandarin speaks to his Manchus. Brothers, this far famed stone of the dragon, wrapped in silk, it is useless uncovered. It had the potency far beyond our imagination. With your help and this gift of our history, we will conquer the world. The Mandarin, unthinking, wraps it up again in its silken wrapper and puts it in his pocket. This results in Dawson regaining consciousness. Its powers, um, its powers can be directed by one family of imperial mandarins who has attained the mastery of all magic. I am that magic mandarin. Still with me, Metal?
Oh yeah, I am. Kind of laughing at the fact that like I understand again limits to printing colors back then, but these guys are literally the same yellow as his hair. It was like, I know, blah blah blah, make fun of Asians, yellow people, blah blah blah. But like, that's really yellow.
uh, let's see if I can find the plastic cursor here. But not for long, as the Mandarin quickly opens it and paralyzes him again. Angered, they draw knives and rush towards him. As his stiff body loses his balance, um, he falls over into the shaft. While at the New York Police headquarters, Sergeant O'Flaherty, close friends of Smash Dawson, nervously waits in his office. Where in blazes is me fine friend, Mr. Dawson? He phones me and tells me he has something hot, and the young gazon hangs up and leaves me to imagine what it is. Susan Prescott of Dawson's paper in the society department rushes into headquarters with a note. Hurry, hurry, O'Flaherty. I found this note in Smash's office when I went there to meet him. He's at room 8005 in the Imperial State Building. I'm afraid it looks like trouble. Well, let's go. Smash left Susan a note saying where he was going, and if he wasn't back by midnight, to get the sergeant and come after him. Eight, 80th floor, quick. They rushed to the Imperial State Building. So this one feels like it's dragging on a little bit. Maybe I'm just worn down or whatever. But
Oh no, this is definitely dragging on. I'm saying this is not a very good use of its page count. Just going out there.
Well, this is a 10-pager.
Yeah, and it already feels twice as long as the 19-pager. Like if I had this entire book, I'd be like, man, I eventually want to get to the other stories in it.
What are you waiting for, Sergeant? Let's push in. It's almost 1 o'clock. Easy now, so. This isn't so simple. They cautiously enter. We'll find him. Fear not, my noisy little shamrock. Noisy little shamrock. Smash! Smash was here, O'Flaherty. This is his tobacco. We've got to find him. You'll go downstairs and wait for the detail I left word for. Rush 'em up when they arrive. The Mandarin and the Manchus return. But what has happened to Smash? Easy now. Despite the sergeant's gun, they are overpowered in a tussle.
Well, I mean, maybe you should have used the gun. Instead of just threatening and letting them over, you should have just shot.
Smash likely escapes, Sure being his pal was only a few feet in the waiting elevator.
Right? It was like, I know he tried using his gun on them earlier, and he's like, look, here's your miracle. It's like, yeah, because you took time to speak. Should have just busted in firing. Don't give him time to react or anything. Just pow, pow, pow.
Yeah. The Mandarin plans to get Susan and the sergeant out of the way. So it is a pity, Mister. You missed our other guest, my fat sleuth. I do not doubt you will join him by the same exit very shortly. In order that you shall not disturb me while I prepare for the destruction of your beloved city, it is necessary to paralyze you. Brothers, here are chips of the magic lodestone of the dragon to throw an invisible barrier around the building. All right. Smash fully recovers on the elevator top and gets out out of the building quickly and rushes to his newspaper office. He's looking for Susan as he remembers leaving the note. Where's Susan, Bob? She left Tomato Flaherty at police headquarters. Was Susan Prescott here? She and O'Flaherty went to meet you at the Imperial State Building. Smash just catches the men on their way to meet O'Flaherty and joins them and returns to the Imperial State Building. I have a good hunch that the chief and my little friend, Susan, are in desperate trouble. I think we will break in, gentlemen. Of course, this is long before Miranda. This is like 20 years or so before Miranda. By the way.
Yeah.
The magic mandarin has thrown an invisible barrier around the building. Huh?
Yeah, that would have been 66.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was 59 that Miranda came out.
No, the case was in 66.
Realizing he has to use superhuman methods to combat the incredible Chinaman, Smash borrows a car and speeds off.
Though, to be fair, the Miranda rights wouldn't matter in that situation anyway. Because all Miranda rights do is you have to be warned of your constitutional rights before interrogation. Right. So if the cops have just cause, they can bust in. That's completely regardless.
Let's see.
I didn't even notice. Hello, Netsuni.
Oh, Netsumi's here?
Yeah.
Hey, Netsumi. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you're enjoying it. And we're getting through this. We have numbed the senses of our unworthy and bothersome guest. Now we shall prepare to strike. Unknown to the magic mandarin, Susan is wearing a silk press or a silk dress. Sue is pretending she is unconscious, but in reality, not. O'Flaherty, leaning against him, the same. Are they trying to say that the silk dress prevented the Joel from actually working on her? I guess is that what they're trying to imply?
I guess.
Gentlemen, the world shall be ours. Smash arrives at the airport. Man, the story is dragging on, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it just keeps going. But for something that's
going.
Half the length of the first story that we read too.
Huh?
Half the page count of the first story that we read too.
Yeah, both the first two stories.
Yeah.
Because one was 19. The first story was 19 pages. The second one was 20.
Yeah. And both of them felt like they went by way faster than this one.
I tell you, Johnson, this is vital to the nation. I must have a dirigible immediately. I would like to help you, Mr. Dawson, if possible, but really this is outside my jurisdiction. But if what I'm telling you is not correct, You can hold me under the law.
I too would like a dirigible immediately. Who do I need to convince that it is for the safety of the country that I have one?
Smash sells Johnson the idea and immediately leaves in a huge dirigible. Brothers, we now uncover the lodestone of the dragon. The entire city will be destroyed. O'Flaherty jumps to his feet and lunges at the Mandarin. Look at the Mandarin's face right there, like utter shock. Like, how did you get up?
I mean, it's hard to tell. He's been kind of making much of the same face the whole time. They didn't draw him in much a way where he could have a very wide range of expressions. Mostly because they were trying to do a very extreme caricature, and it's like, does this guy have a range of emotions, or is he just constantly in this weird anger phase?
In the meantime, Smash approaches the building in the dirigible. Pull over close. I'm going to take that jump. Dawson, it's suicide. But there's no stopping you, I guess.
I mean, you could try to stop him. That seems like you gave up pretty easy right there if you really think it's suicide.
Come on, men. Come on, men. We must depart quickly. It looks as if that dirigible is going to crash the tower. He jumps with the he jumps and miraculously crashes through the window into the tower. This is only the beginning, O'Flaherty. In some peculiar way, unknown to us, the magic Mandarin escaped, and the failure of this plot will not deter his future evil his future evil um,
Intense.
intents and plans. That was really some experience, and boy, what a story for you. See Smash Dawson in the next issue of Whirlwind. Overall impressions of that story.
Oh boy. That story felt like it really wasted my time. Like I think there's some interesting ideas that they had going on. You could tell they were trying to almost tell like this big action, not quite espionage, but you could almost throw it in that genre of storytelling in general. But there's this big caper type thing with this magic man from the east, right? But there's just so much talking and so little doing, and it's so hard to keep my attention through the whole thing. It's like, if you want to
Yeah.
talk that much, do a radio program or write a book. If you're going to draw some pictures, actually put some more action happening in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything more on that particular story?
No, I think that was probably the weakest of the ones that we read, though, for sure.
All right. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Get to that in a moment. All right. Well, with all that being said, now, of the three stories that we read tonight, which one did which one did you like the most or were most impressed with?
So I think it actually just followed reading order. I think we started out strong, and it went downhill from there. Not a steep drop to the next one, but after that, it was like tripping off a cliff.
It was a slight decline between the first two stories, and then it just kind of just and then you felt it's kind of like you're in Scooby Doo or whatever, and you're going down the steps, and then when you get to the third story, all of a sudden the steps flatten out, and you all of a sudden slide. That
Yeah, or you could just be like you're going down the staircase and they didn't warn you that they were doing maintenance, and the next 5 steps are just gone. Right?
Okay, so,
Like,
so I'm guessing then
yeah.
that you're saying that the story you liked the most, or the one that you thought was the best, was Strong Man, the first
Yes.
story you said. Your reasoning behind that.
I don't think it did anything wrong. I think that's the start, right? It's like sitting there. You start with full points and you start ticking them away as you're going. It was really good at keeping my attention as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like it was very straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it actually did anything stupid the entire time that it was going either.
Hmm.
There was nothing that made me question, like, why did you do that as a writer, not like as a character. I can't blame the characters for something the writer did, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing that the writer artist really did in that one. Them like, why did you do that? That I thought it was pretty solid.
All right. Anything more you want to add to that before we move on to the next
No,
question? And I know I already probably know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just as point of process here. Um, which story did you like the least? Find was the worst, and your reasoning behind that.
yeah, I'm just gonna repeat what I said before. It still follows the reading order. The last one we read was the worst one. And it just really it felt like it wasted my time. It felt like it wasted its own time, and it was shorter too. I'm like, how did you cram so much in half the page count and still make it feel like you wasted my time?
I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't the one who wrote it,
I don't know.
obviously.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I couldn't tell you that, but it's kind of interesting when you look back on you look at the differences in writing styles, and the differences in art styles and all that, and you study this stuff, and we look back on it. You know, that's where kind of the comic book review portion of the show comes in, when I ask you these questions. Like, I
Yeah.
ask you the overall impressions, and I ask you, and we look at some of the word usage, we look at the story dynamics, look at the art, we look at all that stuff. But I think we were both in agreement that last story did feel like it kind of dragged on a
Yeah,
bit.
like if I wasn't counting the pages, which clearly I wasn't, right? Because I've asked you the page count a couple times while we were reading it. I would have assumed that was the longest story that we read.
Well, I didn't count.
Hmm. I think I lost you for a second. Hello, hello. Okay, so okay, it was him. I'm still here. The show's apparently still going. I guess that's the benefit of running it through StreamYard. So, like, if he has technical issues, the show doesn't end on its own. But we've lost Mike for a bit. He might be back. Yeah, he froze. He froze Rick. I was wondering at first if it was on my end, and then I looked over and noticed, no, 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 no. I still see my voice coming through on the other screen. Uh, but yeah, I don't know how long it took him to realize that he froze. If he still talked for a while, or if he'll be able to start up where his thought left off when he comes back. But we'll wait patiently for Mike to return. Yeah, I know you can hear me. I've already come to the conclusion that I could be heard. I was able to put some context clues together through my multiple monitor setup. But hey, you know what? At least I'm here. I do have the ability to ramble on about nothing for extended periods of time. So I will hold the fort until he returns. If he returns, he better at least be able to come in to end the show when it's time to end the show. Because at a certain point, I will abandon this, but I will stay for a good amount of time. Mike says, I am having some connection issues on StreamYard. Well, hopefully that will be resolved very, very soon. When I said eventually I'll abandon this, I'm thinking like if it takes you more than 15 minutes to return, but I am more than willing to just ramble on for at least that amount of time. As I drink my 2 liter of, what is this? Dr. Dynamite soda from Signature Selects. Mm, that's a half decent ripoff of Dr. Pepper. Yeah, if I had to think about at least the stuff we were talking about before he disconnected, um, we only covered 3 stories. I think it had a better hit ratio than most of the time I'm on here. A lot of times I'll find like maybe one of the entire stories that we read that's good, um, or something that I would personally give to a kid of the demographic they're aiming for. This time there was 2. That's 2 out of 3 is a pretty good hit ratio. I know they came from different books, but at least of our spread, 2 out of 3 is a pretty good hit ratio. As opposed to like, I don't know, sometimes it's like 1 out of 5. I don't know. I don't always pay attention to how many stories you end up reading. So I guess a fill time. I'm going to rant about something real quick. And it's my fault, doubly. But for dinner tonight, I had a little bit ago made some mashed potatoes. Now, I'm actually very picky about how I make mashed potatoes. I think there is a right way to make mashed potatoes, and there are a bunch of really, really wrong ways to make mashed potatoes, like boiling your potatoes and losing a lot of the flavor to the water, right? The stories are slowly getting better, maybe on average. Yeah. Anyway, I think you're actually supposed to like roast your potatoes in the oven first, almost like you're making a baked potato. And then you skin them afterwards. It's actually really easy to remove the skins after you've roasted a potato. And then you can mix it in a bowl with your butter. Absolutely butter. Don't use anything like margarine. And your heavy whipping cream, because you definitely want to use some type of cream. And typically, this has gone really well for me in the past. I make amazing mashed potatoes, but this time we got so busy that we just let the potatoes sit out for quite a while to the point that they were actually already starting to bud. And I mean, you can still cook potatoes after that, but because they were starting to get kind of old, I probably should have cooked them even longer than I normally do when I'm roasting the potatoes. I probably should have just rounded it up to a whole hour. And one of the potatoes was even bigger than the others. Most of the mashed potatoes came out fine. Even reheating them days later, they came out fine. They were a little lumpy. I even took like a beater, like an electric one to it, electric mixer, to try to even it out as best as possible. But that one bigger potato just did not cook all the way, and it refused to mash out properly. There were just lumps of potato in there. Still tasted fine. Like if you were going for flavor, it was very potatoey, very buttery. It had the proper taste, nowhere close to the proper texture. Next time, I think especially since mashed potatoes is something that you can reheat and just add a little bit more butter and cream so it's loose again. Very well, like these were reheated. I think instead of letting the potatoes sit, I'm just gonna make the mashed potatoes right away. Like maybe later the night after we buy them, and just make them. Round up the heat too. Round up the oven, and I'm just gonna go and have everything done, and then I could just reheat it when we're ready to have a meal. Hey, Devil Flyer, how you doing? And that is my I messed up the mashed potatoes rant. I hope you all enjoyed it. Because even someone like me makes mistakes. Actually, I probably make more mistakes than the average person, but I make up for it. I just make more actions than the average person too. So I also still make more correct ones as well. Yeah, see, that's the you got to play the game of large numbers there. Just keep acting. Doesn't matter how many mistakes you make. You'll average out okay. And people won't even notice. They'll forget the mistakes. As long as it's not something really huge. I guess Mike is still having trouble. How long was I ranting? It had to at least be a good minute. Oh, excuse me. The problem is, you really baked me with that story. I hope I did. Wrap you in tinfoil and throw you in the oven. Be a really baked spud. Yeah, here's the problem is like, I could sit around here and wait all day for him to come back, but he definitely doesn't even want that. He wants to eventually get to wrapping this up. He wants to get to this weekend in niche history, and he'll probably want to end the show too because he only gets so many hours a month on StreamYard that this is just eating away at his time. So I hope for his sake that his connection issue resolves itself fairly quickly. I can't end the stream, like I don't have that ability. It's just gonna keep going. It's just gonna just keep eating up his time. I don't know if I leave, if the stream will auto kill itself. I don't I don't use StreamYard. I barely know how it works. I manage somebody else's StreamYard for them on stream, but I only have like editor roles. I can't start or end the stream there either. Anytime I run a stream, I just use OBS, but I also, at least at the moment, have the equipment to run it that way. Um, my computer's probably, my laptop's probably hitting the end of its lifespan, probably soon. Not its total lifespan, but its usefulness as a broadcasting machine. Um, I don't know how much longer that's going to last. I'm maybe through the rest of this year, but sooner than later, I'm going to want to like replace it or upgrade it, have like an actual work machine, because it would be better to have already replaced it than end up in a situation where I've got nothing to use. There you are, Mike. I hope my rambling has sufficed for the amount of time it took you to get back.
Yeah, well, I don't know how, because I don't even know how I went, how the whole connection thing. I mean, I was back, and then then it went kind of honky on me again. Um, now here, but anyways, so how you doing there, Metal? Thanks for.
I'm doing fine. I mean, obviously, I took a break here and there to sip some soda, but trust me, I have no problem monologuing. I've been talking to myself for long extended periods since I was like 4 or 5 years old. But I'm
Right.
also like way back in the day, I used to do the daily vlogging things where I would just like walk around town with a camera pointed at me and monologue for anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I don't even know how all that happened. It just kind of went like it just kind of went all it's like all of a sudden it froze up, and then I tried to go out and come in, and then that's when everything just kind of went
Yeah.
fluey for like a few there, where it was like telling me pause, and it was telling me like um not a secure connection, that kind of thing, which was BS because I know but it looks like everything seems to be working now. So we'll try to wrap up the show
Yeah, yeah.
quickly
Like,
here.
I hope it didn't eat up too much of your time because I know you only have a limited
Well,
amount every month.
yeah, yeah. It made the show longer than I'd hoped, but
Yeah.
we can still get done. Um, anyway, so what we're gonna do now today is Sunday, January the 12th, 2025. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History. Oh, first off, first off, we'll go back to yesterday. On Going to go back 75 years ago yesterday. 75 years ago. You can still hear me, right?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. So 75 years ago yesterday, the 95th issue of Modern Comics from Quality went on sale on yesterday's date 75 years ago. Of course, the lead feature was Blackhawk. They also had Torchy, Wilbrag, and Ezra. So 75 years ago yesterday was modern, the 95th issue of Blackhawk. All right, moving ahead now to and hey Rex and Rick, thanks for coming in, guys. Sorry if I seem a little frazzled here, but that's usually what happens when stuff doesn't go quite right. Let's see. On yesterday's date, 50 years ago yesterday on CBS, the animated special 2000-year-old man, based on a routine that was originally written and sketched together by Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks, premiered on CBS 50 years ago yesterday, back in 1975. So the animated special 2000-year-old man, based on a sketch from Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, premiered as a special on CBS 50 years ago yesterday.
I love Mel Brooks.
All right, now moving on to today's date here, as soon as I can. 2015 and 2020. All right, so on on let's see, 10 years ago, yes. Oops, wrong thing, Mike. All right, 10 years ago yesterday, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. Of course, saw the debuts and/or returns of the Brass Ring Club of Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, Natalia, and also Paige. The main event of the show saw Rusev defeat Dean Ambrose by referee's decision. Brie Bella defeated Paige in a in a singles match. You also had um, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of the New Day defeat Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, and the opening match saw Seth Rollins defeat John Cena in a lumberjack match. And for those of you who don't know, a lumberjack match is a match in which people surround the ring to keep you from trying to escape the ring. And finally, on this date 5 years ago, in 2020, premiering on Netflix, Mappa's Doro Hey Doro premiered on Netflix on this day 5 years ago. So Mappa's Doro de Doro premiered on Netflix yesterday. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. Metal, if you don't mind sticking around for just a couple minutes, real quick after the show. Still with me?
It might be. I think I am. No, I think you might have left me the second you asked if I was still with you. That's a hilarious coincidence that you froze up on my end the second you asked if I was still with you. I hope it doesn't take you as long to get back. Oh no. Yep, there he goes. I thought so. Well, chat, you're with just me again. Hopefully it only takes him a minute or two this time. I don't know what's going on. In interesting news, I just got a Google Alert update because I have Google Alert set up for all of my IPs, so I know if it gets posted anywhere. A lot of times, it's just it letting me know I posted something. But I got a very interesting update that X Dynamis Chaos was uploaded or mirrored on a place called Novel Next, which seems to be a site that let's see, it says a special platform where you can read the translated versions of world famous Japanese, Chinese, and Korean light novels in English. I don't know if they think that my story is a translated one or not. I don't. It's available for free. I really don't care that they're mirroring it, but I think that's really cool. It's a source web novel. Yes, I do have it mirrored on web novel. So that's how you know you make it when other people start ripping and mirroring your stuff. It's currently got an 8 out of 10 rating, so that made me happy. Which, if you guys have not read the web novel version of X Dynamis Chaos, it's way further than the comic, which is only in like chapter 5, and I still need to finish. There's like 2 or 3 pages left of chapter 6, episode 5. There's like 2 or 3 pages left of that. But the web novel, technically it's up to chapter 18, but I had to take it back down for reformatting. And I only have like, I think we're up to chapter 19. I only have 2 chapters left to reformat. You can read all 17 chapters that I've reformatted so far on the website, which means all of Act 1 has been done. That's up to chapter 16, and 1 chapter of Act 2 is up there already. So, yeah, go read X Dynamis Chaos if you never have. Though the web novel version might be a bit much for some people, and if it is, just stick to the comic. Eventually, there will be more of it. I can't promise when, but I have a page that's like half inked. I really should just be working on it. But as you can see in my subheader here, it says might write another novel this year. I am primarily a writer more than I am an artist. I really should just be pumping out some more novels. Um, it's easy for me to write novels. Uh, so I don't know. I might actually try to write like 3 this year while trying to get back into the comic thing. We'll see. We'll see how things go. We're gonna be moving again very, very soon in the same area, not cross country. Uh, but it's really hard to get down and get into the creative groove when you just keep hopping around everywhere. Yeah. That realistically, I should have finished all 4 acts of X Dynamis Chaos's web novel a long time ago. Probably should have finished it before I ever even decided to start adapting it as a webcomic. I think that was probably one of my big mistakes. I know exactly where the story is going. I know how it finishes. I know what happens in every single chapter. I just haven't written it. I could even abandon the web novel format altogether and only do it as a web comic and still know exactly where I'm going. I just really like the novelization format. I like the freedom of what I can do with prose. I guess you have freedom in illustration, but I'm not the world's best illustrator. I can write way better than I can draw, so I just enjoy writing more. It's a personal thing. Getting my own place in Marsupial's area, or are we getting a bigger place? Well, by default, we have to get a bigger place. But his lease is actually running up, and there's an issue where with new leases, they're just trying to not have smoking anywhere on the premises of the apartment complex. So we're not even moving to like a bigger place here. We're finding somewhere else, maybe even just renting a house for a little bit before he can buy his own. Um, but no, we're still gonna be rooming together for a bit at the very least. Yeah, that's so ridiculous. Like, I'm not a smoker, but I think it's so stupid how modern society treats cigarette smokers. Like, it's ridiculous. Some of the basic rules, like 15 feet from a public building, something that's actually ran by the city, that's fine, right? Having to designate an area for smoking, like you can't have only smoking areas. You have to have, or you can't have mixed areas. You have to either your bar is a smoking bar or not is also fine. But like everything after that, people have just been ridiculous as smokers. Hey, Mike, you're back again.
Yeah, I was trying to shut it down and then it went wonky on me again.
Yeah.
But thanks for holding the fort. I'm gonna once again try to close us out here. Um, Basically, it went wonky on me but it looks like now it's hopefully fine. But anyways, all right, guys. Hopefully, we won't have any more of these problems. But with that, I shall wish you all good night, and hopefully, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.